Welcome to a Creature Guide Live Tuesday live stream. Let's get into some fun animal news, but first, we're going to have to test our sound first. So, the beginning part of the stream is going to be a bit off. So, from news.mongabay.com, so there's a snail, it seems, slithering along some wooden surface, or maybe seems to be a bunch of fungi or maybe mold. I'm not sure what it is. Actually, I thought it was snow originally, even has a grease like texture. Okay, so the snail in the picture seems to be a relative of the apple snail, which has become quite um, invasive in different parts of the eastern United States. They create very pink rows of eggs, in which you just scrape it off with even like some metal tool or a stick. Tends to sever their eggs. Yeah, apple snails are pretty much native to different parts of West and Central Africa. So different parts of Nigeria, Ghana, Benin, as well as the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Cameroon, and what they feed on exactly, I am not sure. It is quite remarkable that they've been quite successful in different parts of the eastern United States, especially like different parts of Florida, South Carolina, as well as Texas. They tend to inhabit different areas around water and even will lay their eggs along concrete um, concrete ditches or even just different concrete surfaces, even cypress trees along different water holes. Yeah, I don't know of any species of animals, especially in the eastern United States, that feed on apple snails. They can actually be quite poisonous. And it's one of the few species of snails in the United States that are quite invasive. They don't reach up into Canada or the northeastern United States and places like Mexico. So I just have to keep it active or at a constant. Oh, okay. So just immediately head into it. All right. So let's get started from Mangabay's news.mongabay.com. So it does look like a relative of the apple snail. Rarely do species presumed extinct reappear with a renewed hope for a better future. But researchers in Australia not only discovered a wild population of Campbell's keeled glass snail on Australia's Norfolk Island in 2020, they've now bred the snail in captivity and recently released more than 300 individuals back into the wild where they're multiplying. Well, that's really good to hear. So originally this animal was thought to be extinct and now it's quickly making a rebound. Um, let's see. This is also probably this is one of those groups of animals where inbreeding doesn't really have much of a negative effect on the species. So it's not really a concern for the snail. The translocation, according to the Australian Museum, is the first large scale reintroduction of a snail species in Australia. Officially, Campbell's keeled glass snail, Advena campbelli, is still listed as extinct on the IUCN Red List, based on a 1996 assessment. Sheesh, that was what, 30 years ago? It's considered critically endangered. In 2020, Isabel Hyman and colleagues from the Australian Museum, with the help of a Norfolk Island resident, confirmed there was still a small population of the snail living in a sheltered rainforest valley in Norfolk Island National Park. To boost its survival prospects, organizations including Sydney's Taronga Zoo, Norfolk Island National Park, Western Sydney University, and the Australian Museum started collaborating on a snail breeding program at Taronga Zoo in 2021. The teams knew very little about the snail's life history, diet, behavior, or what negatively impacts it. Hyman told Mongabay by email, "Wow, that's really interesting. I always wondered how many of these different species, especially in recent times, did the different people at these zoos, rescue centers, rehabilitation centers did not know like how this animal behaved, how it fed. Now, because it's a snail and also it's specific type of snail, it's very likely based on different assessments from other snail species. They have a bit, or it gives a big glimpse to you as to how this animal might feed and behave or even reproduce. So, but with a lot of careful, painstaking work and record keeping from the husbandry team, they began seeing progress. The zoo bred population of Campbell's keeled glass snail has now grown to more than 800 individuals. In June, the teams flew about 600 snails to Norfolk Island, which sits in the South Pacific, closer to New Zealand than to the Australian mainland. A month later, they released 340 of the snails, each marked with an ID label, into a part of the national park where the species was found. Wow, I haven't heard of snails being labeled with numbers. Usually you tend to hear it on different species of mammals, maybe occasionally certain reptiles, possibly certain fish, even maybe sharks. But this was kind of surprising. Oh, what's this guy doing at the moment? Norfolk Island National Park Ranger Sam Burridge examining snail growth before release. Huh. Yeah. Well, he's using that specific tool. Interesting. So I guess this helps give an estimate to as to how this animal was growing in captivity, and then it's going to be compared with how they matured in the wild. And the question is, do they stop growing? There they are. Oh, okay, that makes sense. They put stickers on them. I was literally thinking they spray painted it, or not spray painted, but some sort of a liquid that's used or, for elephants, especially for numbering. Though sometimes they give them tags as well. The conditions of the release area closely resemble the ones where the wild population lives. None of our chosen release sites overlap with the wild population. This was intentional. In order to mitigate the risk of extinction for the species, we felt it better to establish our second population in a different area of the national park. Yeah, that is a good idea. You want it where it's less likely for maybe whatever disease killed off the species, maybe a certain type of predator. It's a big question. Maybe it was something to do with the weather or specific climate in the region. The team prepared the release area by installing rodent traps and cameras to monitor predator levels. It also has a sprinkler system for use when conditions become dangerously dry for the snails. How big is this sprinkler system? Now, I'm guessing that the snails probably don't have a very large home range. I mean, if they have access to that specific habitat and obviously the microscopic food in the region, then it's got to be fairly small. And I'm guessing maybe um what, less than a eighth of a square kilometer, or um I don't know how to convert that to less than like maybe I don't know a 11th of a mile. Just what I'm guessing. Square mile. So, since the release, the team has observed several newborn snails. We realize that it is still early days and that the population needs more time to become fully established. However, the fact that we are seeing live snails, including some neonates, at the site is promising. We have not seen many signs of rodent predation, which is also promising. I forget that different species of rodents, I think, are invasive to Norfolk Island. In mainland Australia, there are a handful of native rodent species. Many tend to assume that it's just marsupials or it's a mix of placentals and marsupials. Well, like it's evenly distributed. And the truth is, there's only a handful of different species of um, non marsupial or placental mammal within mainland Australia. Now, Norfolk Island, I do not know the answer to that specifically. I'm guessing these are invasive. Him and added they're planning another reintroduction in June 2026 at the same site to bolster the new population and give it the best possible chance of becoming established. I mean, considering they're breeding very well, um, they're I'm guessing that there's going to be a massive explosion in the species. So let's head over to the next article. So from ScienceDaily.com. 55 million-year-old fossils reveal bizarre crocs that dropped from trees. Scientists uncovered Australia's oldest known crocodile eggshells, revealing the secret lives of ancient Mecossucan crocodiles that once dominated inland ecosystems. These crocs filled surprising niches, including terrestrial stalking and possibly tree dropping ambushes. This is quite interesting considering it has come out in recent times where it looks like different species of crocodile morph, especially after the dinosaurs would have had the ability to have had a hunting style similar to modern day leopards. It's not really so much of a jaguar thing. Occasionally, cougars might have this type of hunting strategy, but tends to be primarily leopards. Occasionally, lions will do it. So this is quite interesting. What does it say? Mekosukin. So the Mekosukins were a group of crocodilomorphs that evolved around 11 million years after the dinosaurs went extinct. So the dinosaurs went extinct at the end of the Mesozoic era, around 66 million years ago. And then these individuals would evolve at the very end of the Eos Paleocene epoch, so around 54, 55 million years ago. Most of them were carnivorous. Artistic reconstruction of a female Mekosuken nesting in the swampy environments of the Murgan fossil site. Also shown is one of the abundant giant soft-shelled turtles, Murgonomys braithwati, an archaic marsupial. I'm guessing that's Murgonomys. And a Harthia murgoensis, an unnamed ancestral songbird. The clays that formed the fossil deposits were accumulated in this ancient lake. The oldest known crocodile eggshells ever identified in Australia are giving UNSW researchers fresh insight into long vanished animals and the environments they depended on. These remains come from creatures that lived millions of years before the continent separated from the land masses that became Antarctica and South America. Now, just to remind everybody, this was long after Pangea had split. That was already occurring during the mid Triassic, so over 235 million years ago. Whereas what it's stating here is that Antarctica and South America were still connected. That's why you could find different species of related dinosaurs, like different species of small ankylosauromorphs, possibly even ornithopods and sauropods in Antarctica and South America during the end of the Cretaceous period, around 67 million years ago, or 66. In the small southeast QLD town of Mergen, scientists have spent decades excavating what appears to be an ordinary clay pit in a local grazer's backyard. Beneath the surface sits one of Australia's earliest fossil bearing locations, a site that provides a rare look into a time when the continent was still part of a much larger supercontinent. An international research group led by the Institut Catala de Paleontologie, Michael Crucifant, working with UNSW Sydney, has now identified these ancient crocodilian eggshells. The team confirmed they're the oldest ever recovered in Australia. The fragments have been formally named Wakulothus gothelpi. They once came from Mekosuchine crocodiles, an extinct group that dominated waterways about 55 million years ago. Australia's modern freshwater and saltwater crocodiles only appeared far later, roughly 3.8 million years ago. I think it was even more recent for the saltwater crocodile, like somewhere between 2 to 3 million years ago. And then the Nile crocodile, I think, was somewhere around 3 to 4 million years ago. So the Nile crocodile is over in Africa with as well as the West African crocodile, which tends to be left out, a very closely related species. Now, at this time, true crocodiles have not yet evolved. They wouldn't appear in the fossil record until somewhere between 25 and 30 million years ago during the late Oligocene epoch. So, these are simply different aquatic crocodilomorphs existing during this time. And the freshwater crocodile over in Australia looks somewhat like a garrow over in India. These eggshells have given us a glimpse of the intimate life history of Mekosuchines. We can now investigate not only the strange anatomy of these crocs, but also how they reproduced and adapted to changing environments. Unlike today's crocodiles, Mekosuchines occupied a surprising range of ecological roles. It's a bizarre idea, but some of them appear to have been terrestrial hunters in the forest. This isn't surprising with different families of crocodilomorph during the Paleocene, Eocene, all the way until the Pliocene epoch. You had it where, well, actually, I believe there were also terrestrial crocodilomorphs occurring as recently as 4 to 7,000 years ago, but fairly small species. I am referring to an animal that's probably about 4 to 5 feet in length, but only
Wait a minute.
weighs.
What are you talking about?
There were certain species of crocodilomorphs that existed in the early Holocene epoch, so just after the Ice Age or the Pleistocene, but going extinct shortly before, like, the last woolly mammoths would go extinct, or
So
the
they weren't
giant lemur.
actually crocodiles or
N
alligators. They were.
no, this was from a different, lineage of, I believe, Nuosuchians, and, similar to certain species that you see during the Paleocene, Eocene epoch, but, most crocodilomorphs had gone extinct at the end of the Pliocene, so it's pushing somewhere between 2 to 3 million years ago, yet a handful would survive until, not including today's crocodilians, but a handful would survive until the early Holocene epochs, around 4 to 7,000 years ago. But these individuals might have only weighed somewhere around 30 pounds or a little over 12 kilograms. But they had a very short snout compared to their body size. And in some cases, also had quite extended or what's the term? Exposed canines. So much like a boar to an extent, or even a warthog. So let's see. Um, Evidence from younger Mekosuchines fossils supports this interpretation. These fossils were found in 25 million-year-old deposits at the River Slay World Heritage Area in Budahumla National Park on Wanyai country in northwestern Queensland. Some river dwelling species at River Slay reached lengths of at least 5 meters, so that's pushing 17 feet. Professor Archer says some were likely semi arboreal as well. Some were also apparently at least partly semi arboreal drop crocs. They were perhaps hunting like leopards, dropping out of trees on any unsuspecting thing they fancied for dinner. Yes.
Wait, weren't you talking about one of those the other day?
Yeah, I believe, well, a specific species, um, possibly a Mekosuken individual, but not this type of Mekosuken.
But it was dropping out of trees. Like a crocodile morph was able to go up into trees?
It seems that way with certain species. You could have also had it where certain crocodilomorphs were preying on certain species of birds that were nesting up in the trees, as well as going after their hatchlings or just unhatched eggs. You could have had
I
it
just
where,
can't believe they could crawl up in a tree.
well, if you think about it today, you have it where alligators have been observed literally walking up fences, or at least wired fences. Not sure about the wooden ones. It's always possible. And, what's another thing? Definitely crocodile monitors. I'm not so sure about Komodo dragons. Komodo dragons can be quite quick, but definitely different species of crocodile monitors going up termite mounds, trees. So it's fairly possible for at least a 20 or 30 pound Mekosuken crocodile morph to climb a tree. and also prey on different species of mammal up there as well. So, let's see, let's take a deeper look. So, okay. They preserve. So Panadis bias highlights the scientific value of eggshells in reconstructing ancient life. They preserve microstructural geochemical signals that tell us not only what kind of animals laid them, but also where they nested and how they bred. Our study shows just how powerful these fragments can be. Should be a routine standard component of paleontological research, collected, curated, and analyzed alongside bones and teeth. Uh, Let's see. Yeah, also what helps with the eggshells is they can give a glimpse as to the environment, as to what the climate was like. Let's see, like possibly if there was even a drought or a massive flood that occurred. Also, like at the time of the preservation of the eggshells, what massive weather events were occurring. It can also indicate possibly as to, well, most likely how much nutrition the animal was getting in when it's after it laid the egg. So the Mergen samples were studied using both optical and electron microscopes. The eggshell microstructure indicates that these crocodiles likely nested along the edges of a lake and adjusted their reproductive strategies as conditions shifted over time. Co author Michael Stein suggests that Mecosukins may have lost much of their inland habitat as the region dried. They would have been pushed into smaller waterways where they had to compete with newly arrived crocodiles as well as cope with shrinking populations of their megafaunal prey. I really do wonder. The Australia I'm before the Pleistocene is rarely talked about. So before 2.5 million years ago, possibly earlier into the Pliocene, so before the much larger marsupials, it's almost never mentioned when it comes to the different variety of Cenozoic life during this time. So when I'm referring to the Cenozoic, you are looking at a period of time from 66 million years ago to now. So, um, also, yes, this is around the time. If it's referring to the 25 million year date, there were early species crocodiles occurring, but I do not know if they were already occurring within Australia at this point. At least it seems to be by this specific scientist. So let's see. Um, Dr. Stein adds that the lake at Mergen was surrounded by dense forest. This forest was also home to the world's oldest known songbirds, Australia's earliest frogs and snakes, a wide range of small mammals with South American lynx, as well as one of the world's oldest known bats. That's really good to hear. Let's see. Anything else? I think there is something I have to go over here. Okay, so he recalls uncovering an unusual crocodilian jaw fragment in 1975 in the Texas caves of southeastern Queensland. It's interesting. I didn't know there were caves named after the state over in Australia. Although it is now known to belong to a Mekosukan crocodile, the specimen initially confused him. The jawbone looked reptilian but had teeth resembling those of dinosaurs. Seeking clarity, he brought the fossil to Professor Max Hecht, a reptile expert at the American Museum of Natural History. When he saw it, Max nearly dropped his coffee cup. It closely resembled any another kind of extinct croc with dinosaur type teeth that had been found in South America. That was the first realization that crocodiles with teeth like this were also part of the older record in Australia. Yeah, many species of crocodile morph also when you go back to the Eocene and Paleocene tends to be referred to different parts of South America. Occasionally, maybe even Europe or different parts of North America, but usually you don't tend to hear about those specific species until a bit later into the Cenozoic. So once you hit the end of the Eocene, the beginning of the Oligocene, around 34 to 35 million years ago. Professor Archer notes that he and his team have been working in Mergen since 1983, often literally digging in the backyard of enthusiastic residents. That year, UNSW colleague Hank Godhelp and I drove to Mergen, parked the car on the side of the road, and grabbed our shovels, knocked on the door, and asked if we could dig up their yard. Af-
That would be weird to have happen.
it seems to be any time somebody finds like a mastodon jaw or part of a mammoth, like what we see occur in certain parts of Minnesota, New York, the um, The guys over there are immediately on it, and their property's just torn apart. It's like, wait, you said you have a jaw? Okay, we need to invade your land. Anyway, after explaining the potential prehistoric material beneath the sheep paddock and mentioning that fossil turtle shells had already been found nearby, property owners eagerly agreed. From subsequent excavations, that's where the eggshell pieces came from. And quite nearly from the many fascinated animals we've already found in this deposit since 1983, we know that with more digging there will be a lot more surprises to come. Doesn't seem like there would be too much of a dig site occurring here, unlike with the larger mammals. I mean, they're just looking for turtle eggshells, I think. No, fossil turtle shells. Okay. Well, depending on the time within the Cenozoic, you could have large individuals. And I'm referring to turtle shells that could be close to 6 feet in length or like 1.8 meters. So, also very heavy fossil as well. So, for Professor Archer, these discoveries serve a dual purpose. They illuminate Australia's ancient past, and they can also inform strategies to protect vulnerable species facing rapid environmental change today. He has been part of a multi institutional effort known as the Burmese Project, Burmese Project, which aims to rescue the mountain pygmy possum, Burmese parvis, from the brink of extinction. Well, that was random, but I'm glad. The mountain pygmy possum is very proud of this project, and he thanks you.
Did you say the possum's very proud of the project?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the mountain pygmy possum. Oh, yeah, this guy no, it's true that this animal really is a pygmy. I think this individual might only weigh a couple of ounces at most.
A possum that weighs a couple of ounces?
Yeah, this would be like 1 to 2 grams. It is tiny. I believe it also feeds on different species of moth in the region. It's a bit of a rocky area. It might somewhat brumate, but I'm only guessing on that. There's another small species of possum over in Australia referred to as the honey possum. And yes, it mainly feeds on nectar from different species of flowers. I think it weighs less than a gram or an ounce. So let's see. This alpine species is under severe pressure. The team found that its ancient relatives thrived for nearly 25 million years in lowland temperate rainforests, including those that once covered the River Slade region between 25 and 12 million years ago. From this evidence, researchers concluded that the ancestors of modern mountain pygmy possums probably followed rainforest habitats uphill during a warm and wet phase in the Pleistocene epoch. When the alpine climate eventually cooled, the species developed survival strategies such as hibernation. Yep, there we go. Okay, so they do. They do brumate. Well, okay, I might have to check up on that because there is a difference between hibernation and brumation. Brumation, the heartbeat slightly drops, um, but the animal can still be somewhat alert. It's not necessarily a deep sleep, whereas hibernation, the core temperature drops significantly. Whereas in um, animals like bears that brumate, it drops slightly, but not very much. There are certain species of ground squirrels where their body drops below freezing, like 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
How do they survive that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I need to go back over that. But another thing is also their heartbeat drops to 1 to 2 beats a minute.
Yeah, but
Um,
if their body's frozen, how's their heart beating?
hmm. uh, I don't know. So, a few years ago, Professor Archer's group collaborated with Trevor Evans' Secret Creek Sanctuary and received support from multiple organizations, including the Prague Zoo in the Czech Republic, to establish a breeding program in non alpine forests near Lithgow. Today, the mountain pygmy possum population is thriving in that environment, consistent with predictions drawn from the fossil record. That's interesting because I have to be honest, it's still extremely low in population. It's concentrated in a very small area of southwestern Australia. I believe over in yeah, it's towards the coast. But yeah, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily thriving. Let's see, is there anything else? No. That's it. Okay, well, that was interesting. Let's head to the next article. So, from AOL.com, surprise angler nets sealed 20 miles upriver. Okay. Seal was significantly underweight. He seems thankful. Gosh, look at his claws. Yeah, many people tend to forget that seals do have claws on their flippers. They have 5 fingers, just like we do, and that's how, as you travel further north, and like the ring seals, the bearded seals, even this individual has the ability to scrape away the hard ice to make a burrow for their young. An intrepid seal pup, which had made its way 20 miles or 32 kilometers upriver, was rescued after landing in an angler's keep net on the Broads. The surprised fisherman was in a rowing boat on the River Bure at Horning, Norfolk, on Boxing Day when the gray seal popped up and went for his catch. I think Boxing Day refers to Christmas or Christmas Eve over in Germany. Anyway, after following the fish into the keep net, the significantly underweight seal was rescued by charity volunteers and taken to RSPCA East Winch near Kingsland, where it was said to be doing well. This has to be one of the strangest seal rescue stories of the year. Um, okay, so he went to grab the fish, and I guess he ended up netting him. Could he tell that he was really skinny? I took the call just before 8 a.m. The fisherman was in his little rowing boat. He'd caught a fish and he was trying to get it into his keep net, and the seal went in behind the fish. The pup was only 12 kilograms, or was this 26, 27 pounds? When at this point, they need to be 30 to 45 kilograms. So we took it to East Winch. Whoa. Right. So the pup should have been, at least 64, 65 pounds and possibly as much as 95 or 97 pounds. As long as it starts feeding for itself, hopefully it will be okay. The remarkable rescue was one of 49 calls the charity received on Friday. Miss Butler explained the high number of calls was typical for this time of year. The charity's busiest time, as thousands of gray seals are born on the stretch of coast around Sea Palling, Horsey, and Winterton on Sea near Great Yarmouth. Youngsters were already on the move and sometimes caused concern among well meaning visitors, but generally did not need assistance. Retrieving a seal so far inland, like the poorly pup in Horning, however, was rare. While seals regularly make their way upriver, moving a healthy, uninjured animal, no matter where it may have ended up, was difficult and required a license. Seriously? That's insane. Shouldn't need a license to. Anyway, I'm glad this pup was rescued, and I believe gray seals they can get to over 400 pounds or a little over 190 kilograms. Mostly feeding on different species of crustacean in the region, or going after different species of cephalopods, like different types of squid, and as well different species of fish. So let's head over to the next article. So from ScienceDaily.com, hornet eating frog shows remarkable venom assistance. Well, this sounds abnormal. Let's take a look. Experiments reveal that pond frogs can eat highly venomous hornets without suffering noticeable damage, even after repeated stings. Most frogs successfully consumed hornets, including the notorious Asian giant hornet. This unusual resilience suggests that frogs may have evolved mechanisms to block the effects of venom. Their resistance could help scientists uncover new insights into pain and toxin tolerance. So, wow, that is huge compared to his body size as well. Kobe University College's Shinhei Shigure discovered that the black spotted pond frog,
We looking at his tongue?
on the bottom, it seems so. Yeah, his gum layer is not that not that thick. So let's see. Seems to be unharmed and undaunted by venomous stings from hornets, such as the Asian giant hornet, the largest in the world. That is a tough tongue. Um, wow. A frog with an unexpectedly strong resistance to venom has been identified, and it routinely eats hornets despite the insect's dangerous stingers. Researchers believe the species may have become a useful model organism for exploring how animals develop tolerance to venom. For many people, even glimpsing a hornet stinger is enough to cause alarm. Yet certain animals, including some birds, spiders, and frogs, regularly prey on adult hornets. I didn't know that certain species of birds are preying on that wasp, which I guess is not surprising since certain other species of wasps that can sting are preyed by other species of birds. A hornet sting can trigger sharp pain, tissue damage, and serious systemic problems such as the destruction of red blood cells and cardiac dysfunction, any of which could be fatal. Whoa, okay, I did not know that. What has remained uncertain is whether hornet eating animals actually withstand the venom or simply avoid being stung. Although stomach content studies had shown that pond frogs sometimes eat hornets, no experimental work had ever examined how this occurs. Yeah, I would think he's still getting stung by the wasp if there are all these individuals, if you're seeing many of them with hornets in their stomachs. To investigate whether pond frogs evade or tolerate these potentially lethal stings, Sugure presented individual adult frogs with workers of three hornet species, Vespa similima. So these are three different species of wasps that they're giving them. Vespa analis. Usually, when you see a genus name and then you see a letter with a period right next to it, it's referring to the same genus, just the different species of that genus. In this case, the wasp. And Venus mandarinia. Hmm, sounds good too. In controlled laboratory trials, each frog was tested only once and paired with hornets that matched its size, with larger frogs being paired with Asian giant hornet or V. mandarinae workers. As reported in the journal Ecosphere, Segurie found clear evidence that adult pond frogs actively launched attacks on workers of all three hornet species. Even more striking, 93%, 87%, and 79% of the frogs succeeded in consuming the three species respectively, despite being stung inside the mouth or even in the eyes. Seguri notes that while a mouse of similar size can die from a single sting, the frogs showed no noticeable harm even after being stung repeatedly. This extraordinary level of resistance to powerful venom makes the discovery both unique and exciting. Earlier research has shown that the pain caused by stinging insects does not always match the uh, lethality of their venom. Some bees, wasps, and ants deliver extremely painful but non lethal stings, while others inflict minimal pain despite possessing highly toxic venom. That was quite shocking. I know I went a little, uh, read a little too much at once there, but it's pretty obvious now that all three species are just calmly feeding on these frogs, and they're quite immune to the stinger. And more, the more important case, the venom. So this is quite remarkable. Let's see. This suggests that the frogs in the study may have developed a dual resistance to both the painful and harmful effects of hornet venom, allowing them to successfully hunt and consume hornet workers. Segurie explains that this finding raises major questions for future research. Scientists now hope to determine whether pond frogs possess physiological traits such as physical barriers or specific proteins that reduce the pain and toxicity of hornet venom, or whether hornet toxins are simply ineffective in amphibians that rarely attack hornet colonies. These frogs may therefore become important model organisms for studying how vertebrates develop resistance to venom and pain. Yeah, I bet they would. I mean, this is just really fascinating to see. Okay, well, that was fairly interesting. So let's head to the next article. So, okay, from greenmatters.com. This mysterious Jurassic fossil may sit at the root of snake evolution. So, dwelling around 167 million years ago, chimeric reptile was discovered along with 70 other prehistoric species. Whoa! If this was at once in a specific fossil formation, this is quite remarkable. Um, Also, 167 million years ago was technically the mid Jurassic. So, this was during the time when you had some of the earliest species of long necked sauropod dinosaurs, but still before many species of Brachiosaur, Diplodocid. Some early species of Stegosaur have already evolved, as well as earlier relatives of the Allosaurus, or different lineage, different members of the Carnosaur lineage. The Tyrannosaurs have not yet evolved. So we're looking at seems like a crocodile monitor. So in 2006, Museum Macaulay curator Roger Benson was exploring limestone blocks in the village of Elgol in southern Skye. His colleagues asked him to give up, believing that they had left no spot unexplored and weren't likely to discover anything valuable. Benson had only walked about 15 feet when his attention fell on something unusual etched into a block of um, micric limestone. They extracted the block and couldn't believe what they had just found: the skeleton of a prehistoric reptilian creature, which was part snake and part lizard. The discovery unlocked a whole new trove of questions in the jigsaw puzzle of reptilian evolution. In a study published in Nature, Benson documented that this chimeric reptile could be one of the first snakes to have emerged on the planet. I mean, this is very early in the snake's evolution. There were a wide variety of snakes later the Cretaceous period, so after 145 million years ago on the Earth.
Somebody looks hungry.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was a lizard at first or a certain snake because you're not seeing the teeth. But also it's just an odd sort of shape. Freaky. Elgol snake. Okay. The discovery erupted almost like accidentally venturing into a forbidden lair and being greeted by the hiss of a tantalizing serpent goddess. In this case, scientists aren't sure whether it was truly a goddess, what, or a mix of god and goddess wrapped into one wiggly package. I think since we're talking about snakes, it's kind of weird, but okay. Measuring nearly 16 inches long from head to tail, this reptile led scientists to wonder whether it was a lizard like ancestor of snakes or a snake like predecessor of lizards. Oh, yeah, this instance. The reptile shows a curiously confusing anatomy, with one portion of its body resembling a snake and the other resembling a lizard. Scientists nicknamed it Brugnather algolensis, the Gaelic translation, or Celtic, for false snake of Elgol. So it seems like there's feet on one part of the snake, I'm guessing the forelimbs or the front feet, and doesn't have any hind limbs. This neoteric beast belongs to the family of squamates. Yep, as term scientists use to define the collective category of lizards and snakes that roamed the planet over 190 million years ago. So this is the early Jurassic. They listed it in their they listed in the Parvoraptorids, not the raptors, but a group of reptiles. An enigmatic family of reptiles featuring mosaic anatomy, which remains a long standing subject of scientific debate. Its teeth and jaw resemble those of pythons. Its head and body proportions are similar to modern lizards, and it has some primitive traits similar to geckos. Wow. Okay, that is a very um that's quite a variety of different body characteristics or just its overall morphology. So that's interesting. Um, okay, this seems to be a raptor with a problem. He's got a
What are those hands?
yeah. It seems to like somebody took the model of a certain Jurassic Park raptor and changed it, but maybe it's its own thing. I don't know what to say about that depiction of a prehistoric reptile. No, well, not okay. The author at this point has to be being funny because this is hideous.
Maybe they think dinosaurs are reptiles.
Oh yeah, he does. Okay, let's keep going. The study was a multinational collaboration between the American Museum of Natural History and scientists from the United Kingdom, France, and South Africa. They utilized a constellation of reconstruction methods, investigative tests, and examining technologies to scrutinize every jot and title of of the of the reptilian specimen. For testing, they also separated portions of the fossil into little blocks inside a university laboratory in Bristol. X-ray tomography and pilot CT scans were conducted, for analysis in the European synchrotron radiation facility in France. The specimens were mounted on frosted glass slides with clear Gorilla superglue gel, and images and images were recorded with two Hasselblad lenses for high optical clarity.
The way you said that was just funny.
I wasn't expecting the ending. Wait, gel. The conflict that the reptile displayed in its morphology and molecular phylogeny left scientists scratching their heads with an army of questions, some of which are still unanswered. That I would expect. They proposed that parvoraptorids, like this chimeral creature, could be the earliest members of the stem snake lineage. Bone histology revealed 9 distinct growth marks, indicating a minimum age of 9 years. Okay, here we go. This looks like an early lizard. So this is the Brugonether algolensis. It does have a very elongated core. That's quite interesting. Okay, so he has all 4 feet. I really thought that he maybe only had two sets of or a single set of legs. Hmm.
That doesn't look like the same animal from the other picture.
Are you talking about the raptor or whatever that?
No, the original picture. That.
Oh, yeah. Well, hmm. There's a somewhat first of all, his teeth are, um, quite exposed in this image, but if it can or if it does have the ability to somewhat retrieve its teeth, then maybe? Hmm. Snakes are remarkable animals that evolved long, limbless bodies from lizard-like ancestors. This might be telling us that snake ancestors were very different to what we expected. Or it could instead be evidence that snake like predatory habits evolved separately in a primitive extinct group. Susan Evans, co-author of the study, exclaimed that the discovery is like finding the top of the jigsaw box many years after you puzzled out the original picture from a handful of pieces. The specimen she added is a reminder that evolutionary paths can be unpredictable. A hypothesis about stem snakes or parvoraptorids is incomplete because of insufficient information. This fossil gets us quite far, but doesn't get us all of the way. Benson said, however, it makes us even more excited about the possibility of figuring out where snakes come from. And okay, well, that was a
But wait,
lot.
how long have snakes been around?
Um, at least 160 to 170 million years. They were just
But this thing was only how old?
what it said 165. Well, that was 190, but that was just referring to the whole family. 167 million years ago. Hmm. Yeah, it's still a big question. So let's head over to the next article. Okay. Let's see. From Cowsodenglish.com. Hmm. Thailand confirms return of rare flat-headed cat after nearly 30 years. Oh, there he is. I believe these different species go after small species of fish and small species of rodents in the different forested ecosystems they inhabit over in Thailand as well as different parts of Southeast Asia. So let's see. Thailand's Department of National Parks, Wildlife and Plant Conservation and Conservation Group, Panthera, Thailand. I forget that Panthera is situated across many different countries. I just tend to think of, or I guess you could say continents. I keep thinking of just Africa. Announced Friday the confirmed presence of the flat headed cat, one of the world's rarest and most endangered wild cats, in a protected peat swamp forest in the country's far south. The discovery was made in the Chalurn Prakiat Sumdet Frat Dep Watan Harsuda Siam. Who named this place? Borom Rahukaramara Wildlife Sanctuary.
Seriously, I'm not even reading this. Was it that long?
Yes. Also known as the Toad Dying Peat Swamp Forest. That's better. In Narathiwat province. Okay, we're done. It marks the first confirmed record of the species in Thailand in nearly 3 decades. Okay. Oh, Let's take a deeper look. So there's a guy, probably a ranger. Maybe he's going to set up like trail cameras. So he's marking a location where a flat-headed cat was recorded in the Todang peat swamp forest in Narathiwat province, southern Thailand. Okay, so camera trap surveys recorded 13 sightings in 2024 and 16 sightings in 2025. Well, that's really good to hear. The highest frequency reported for the species anywhere within its known range. Researchers also captured images of an adult cat accompanied by a kitten. Oh, that's really good to hear. It means they're reproducing, confirming breeding activity in the area. Now, we don't know how many or whether there is a breeding population, but let's take a deeper look. The flat headed cat is listed as endangered on the International Union for Conservation of Nature Red List, with an estimated global population of about 2,500 individuals. Okay, this is one of those cats where I hadn't taken a look at their population recently. That is not good. The question is, where are these cats located? If they're in a close proximity of each other, then that's not as alarming. If they're not, then there's a big problem for inbreeding. In Thailand, the species had previously been classified as possibly extinct. Oh, there he is. Seems to be an adult. I'm guessing this animal is somewhere around 4 to 12 pounds, or somewhere between 2 to 5.5 kilograms. After decades of habitat protection, surveys confirming the flat-headed cat's return to southern Thailand demonstrates the dedication of park rangers in safeguarding one of the country's last remaining peat swamp forests. Kritsana Kauplang, director of Panthera Thailand, said the finding shows effective habitat protection can deliver conservation results once thought impossible. After nearly 30 years without confirmed sightings, this discovery proves endangered species can recover when their habitats are effectively protected. Flat-headed cat is among the smallest wild cats in Asia. Let's see. Oh, that's it. Okay. Well, I'm glad that Snowbell is coming back to Thailand. So let's head to the next article, or maybe a better description would be Thomas O'Malley from the Aristocats. So
I don't know. Thomas O'Malley may be a little big.
yeah, but it's just that he's not as fluffy. So, but yeah, he does tower over the flat-headed cat. And I guess Snowbell is a bit of a flatter head. Anyway, ScienceDaily.com, scientists discover why anacondas stayed giants for 12 million years. Ancient anaconda fossils show that the snakes became giant soon after emerging in Miocene South America. Their size has stayed stable for over 12 million years, even though other huge reptiles went extinct. Surprisingly, warmer periods didn't make anacondas bigger, just more widespread. Today, they remain large thanks to surviving patches of ideal wetland habitat. Um, I don't think that has really too much to do with their overall size. I think there's something else going on. It's a big question when it comes to size and to why different species of mammals, reptiles, dinosaurs became so immensely large. Um, there's this theory that the cold creates larger creatures, and yes, there have been quite a few large species of mammals, even certain species of dinosaurs that became quite large in different cooler areas. But the largest individuals or the largest creatures to exist, at least on land, were in somewhat semi-arid regions, especially that had a wet and a dry season. So animals like Argentinosaurus, yet the carnivores, well, the largest sauropod to exist. Yet the predators in the region weren't the largest to exist, which is interesting because that would refer to um, around the end of the Cretaceous period, whereas these sauropods from the mid Cretaceous. Um, but also in North America, was a bit of a subtropical climate, so there wasn't necessarily a wet or a dry season. You could still have droughts occur. It's actually quite swampy. So it varies. Now, if you look at it when it comes to animals in the ocean, blue whales will inhabit quite cool areas of the different oceans around the world. So you could say, to an extent, there is some um, truth to that theory. But on land, technically, as a whole, no. But let's keep going. I just thought I mentioned that because of the snake incident. So let's see. Okay, we already read that. Okay. While several of these Miocene giants, okay, the Miocene started around 25 million years ago, and it was one of the longest epochs in the Cenozoic. It's ended around 5 to 6 million years ago. While several of these Miocene giants included the 12-meter Cayman Purosaurus. So, yeah, Purosaurus. This is not a species of dinosaur. This is a member of the alligator toidae lineage of reptiles or crocodilomorphs. And the 12 meters is around 39 feet, 40 feet. And the 3.2-meter giant freshwater turtle Stubendemis. So that's pushing around 11 feet. Eventually disappeared. Anacondas eunectes persisted as a large body lineage rather than shrinking or dying out. Modern anacondas are among the heaviest and longest snakes in existence. They generally grow to 4 or 5 meters, or somewhere between 13 to 17 feet in length, and in rare cases can reach 7 meters. Whoa! Oh, well, actually, I thought they could become a bit longer, like around 30 feet, unless I'm thinking of certain species of python and not specifically um, the anacondas. So 7 meters is 23 feet. To compare ancient and modern sizes, the researchers examined 183 fossilized backbone segments belonging to at least 32 individual anacondas. These fossils were uncovered in Falcon State in Venezuela. When the team combined these measurements with fossil data from other South American sites, they concluded that ancient anacondas measured roughly 4 to 5 meters or 13 to 17 feet, a size comparable to today's snakes. So they're around the same size. That's quite interesting. Other species like giant crocodiles and giant turtles have gone extinct since the Miocene, probably due to cooling global temperatures and shrinking habitats. But the giant anacondas have survived. They're super resilient. He continued, by measuring the fossils, we found that anacondas evolved a large body size.
Whoa, whoa! Did I just hear cooling global temperatures?
Let's see. There were cooler temperatures. Well, there would have been a constant back and forth during the Miocene, but when this is taking place around 12 million years ago, it's not hitting me at the moment what specific climatic event was occurring at this point. But definitely, as you head closer to the Miocene, I mean the Pliocene, you're going to start to see a lot more glaciers pop up. Let's see, probably also more grasslands in different ecosystems or certain types of wetlands. By measuring the fossils, we found that anacondas evolved a large body size shortly after they appeared in tropical South America around 12.4 million years ago. And oh, I said that. Okay. So let's see. To confirm his measurements, Alfonso Rojas applied a second technique called ancestral state reconstruction. This method uses a family of tree snakes to infer the body lengths of ancient anacondas and related modern species such as tree boas and rainbow boas. The analysis supported the conclusion that early anacondas averaged 4 to 5 meters or 13 to 17 feet in length when they first emerged during the Miocene. So anacondas currently live in wetlands, marshes, and major rivers, including the Amazon. Um, well, you can find them in different marsh areas outside of the Amazon rainforest, over in different parts of Brazil, I believe different parts of Bolivia, possibly into Uruguay. During the Miocene, northern South America looked much like today's Amazon basin, which allowed anacondas to occupy a far wider range. Although their distribution has since contracted, enough suitable habitat remains, along with prey such as capybaras and fish, to support their continued large size.
Oh, poor capybaras.
Yeah, I had a feeling that they were going to stick that guy into there. I mean, you could have just said they'll prey on caimans occasionally. So yeah, poor rodents. Scientists previously assumed that ancient anacondas would have been even larger than modern ones because snakes are highly sensitive to temperature and the Miocene climate was warmer. Afonso Rojas addressed this directly. This is a surprising result because we expected to find the ancient anacondas were 7 or 8 meters long. So yeah, pushing this is saying 23 to 27 feet, but we don't have any evidence of a larger snake from the Miocene when global temperatures were warmer. It's quite interesting because I would have expected that too, and it didn't occur. Before this project, researchers lacked enough fossil material to determine exactly when anacondas developed their enormous size. Since these snakes have more than 300 vertebrae, the size of individual fossilized vertebrae offers a dependable way to estimate full body length. The fossils analyzed in this study were gathered over several field seasons by collaborators at the University of Zurich and the Museo Paleontologico de Romaco in Venezuela. Whew. Well, that was unfortunate. Let's head to the next article. So, from dailygalaxy.com, scientists just found a well preserved fossil with a brain and it's smaller than a fingernail. Older than the dinosaurs, this fossil has been hiding extraordinary secret beneath its surface. Researchers never expected to see what they saw. Hmm. Okay. So, maybe we're looking at a really tiny proto mammal, maybe some sort of reptile or amphibian. Okay, let's take a look. Is that the fossil? Fossilized larva dating back over half a billion years has been discovered with its brain, digestive system, and nerve structures remarkably preserved. This tiny creature, an early arthropod ancestor, offers a rare and intimate look at internal anatomy from a time when complex animal life was just beginning to emerge. Okay, so we're talking about the beginning of the Ordovician period. So this is right after the Cambrian period, which ended somewhere between 510 and 520 million years ago. So this is very interesting. Or wait, hold on a second. I might have confused that. This might be towards the end of the Cambrian and not the. We're not in the Ordovician yet. Okay, but I was expecting the Permian. So maybe since it mentioned before the dinosaurs, so I'm thinking, okay, this could be 20 to 50 million years beforehand. I mean, you already had a part of the Triassic period for 20 million years. So Triassic started around 250 million years ago. And for about 20 to 25 million years, the dinosaurs didn't exist. But this was shocking. The fossil found in China and examined through advanced 3D imaging techniques is a game changer for evolutionary biology. According to a study published in Nature, researchers were able to observe not only the organism's external features, but also intricate internal structures that are almost never preserved in such ancient remains. This doesn't have anything to do with it. Let's see. This larva belongs to the lineage that gave rise to today's arthropods, a massive animal group that includes insects, crabs, and lobsters. Soft tissues like brains and guts usually decay long before fossilization, but this particular specimen defied those odds. Its exceptional state allows scientists to draw clearer evolutionary links between modern arthropods and their primitive ancestors. So, let's see. Let's take a look. Where are those digestive glands? I'm guessing they're somewhere around. Oh, it says gut. Okay, you know what? Let's just keep going. I I don't know exactly what. That looks fun, but I don't know what I'm looking at the moment. Typical fossils capture hard structures like bones, shells, exoskeletons, while soft tissues rarely survive the fossilization process. That's why this 520 million year larva is so valuable. Well, it said half a billion years ago. I thought it meant literally 500 million years ago, but I guess 20 million years off can mean that too. You're still definitely in a different time period. We're definitely in the Cambrian. As a press release reported, scientists were able to scan the tiny organism using synchrotron X ray tomography, a technology that constructs detailed 3D models of internal features without damaging the sample. The scans revealed a brain, digestive glands, traces of circulatory system, and even nerves extending to the larvae's eyes and limbs. Co author Catherine Dobson remarked in a press release that natural fossilization has achieved almost perfect preservation. As stated by the research, one key feature that stood out was the presence of a protocerebrum, a specific brain region that plays a central role in coordinating sensory input and movement in modern arthropods. Hmm. Its appearance in such an ancient specimen offers strong evidence of continuity in brain structure over hundreds of millions of years. Let's see. So the creature's soft tissue was sealed and fossilized in such a way that even its most delicate systems remained visible after 520 million years. So I guess that's about it. Okay, well, set to the next article. Um, I was not expecting a early ancestor to the arthropods. So that was quite a shock. Trade from tradeprint.solutions.co.uk. North Atlantic alert as orcas begin targeting commercial ships in what experts describe as coordinated attacks. Let's take a look into this investigation. I've been hearing about this for quite some time. So let's see. At first, it sounded like a one off curiosity, the kind of strange sea story you share over coffee in a port cafe. Okay, there's nothing to do with it. Let's see. This is like a giant story. I hope this is one of those fakes. I've got a feeling it is. Um,
Okay, give me a second. I'll get the second set up.
Alrighty. So just a few seconds. Okay, so yeah, when it comes to these orca attacks, they seem to have happened like or started occurring something between 5 to 15 years ago. So this is quite extraordinary. Um, yeah, why specifically they're going after the boats, I do not know. Now, you could say that different ecosystems where this is occurring, especially different parts of the North Atlantic and different seas adjacent to Northern Africa, Europe, they're not doing as well when it comes to the different abundance of fish species in the region, as well as just a different variety of marine life. But I think the orcas are still getting enough food for that to not really be necessary. So, why they're going after different ships? Have there been a wide variety of individuals that have had negative experiences with people? Um, Is there something that the ships or the boats are putting off that is irritating them? So that's a big question. Or these are all questions to put into account. Um, I mean, over like you're not hearing this in different parts of the Pacific. I don't think even certain areas of the Indian Ocean or the Antarctic. It's just the North Atlantic. At least that's what I've been seeing. Okay, so from the cooldown.com. Oh, well, okay. So, trail camera captures tense standoff between two rare predators. That is freaky. What? It kind of sounds like my kids in the car. Why do I have a feeling I know what? Okay. There's nothing there. The thing's just to make it more spooky. A trail camera in the Minnesota forest captured an intense scene between two elusive but fiercely territorial predators. We don't know where they are or what they are. The clip shared by Northern News Now was taken from a trail camera at the Chickawauk Museum in Nature Center in northern Minnesota. Viewers are advised to lower the volume before watching the video, as it shows a pair of lynxes getting to a loud verbal tussle. If your kids sound like this, there's an issue. These guys sound like they have throat problems. Both of the big cats let it all out in a series of ear piercing screams. The video ends with a close up of the presumed victor, showing a little flick of its tail before it slinks out of view. As the name suggests, whoa. However, the American population is small and scattered, so when it comes to Canadian lynxes, only around 200 remain in northern Minnesota. I thought they were much more common in Minnesota. I think it's because occasionally they'll pop up on the Voyager's Wolf Project trail camera footage. So that's a bit of a shock. But they are coming back to different parts of the United States. I wouldn't call them necessarily rare depending on where you are. Okay, so let's see. Oh, okay.
So where's the video footage?
Yeah, unless it was on one of the links and not yeah. Okay, let's head to the next article. So from yahoo.com, see it. Predator not seen the state for over 100 years, caught on camera. So captures a fisher returned to Cleveland in over a century. There he is. Okay, so a species of weasel has now come back to the area. So this is good to see. So, Ohio, some county over in Ohio. Well, that's good to see. An astonishing discovery was made after a wildlife camera spotted a fisher roaming through Cleveland Metro Parks, its first appearance in Cuyahoga County for over a century. The park's trail camera captured the footage earlier this year, marking it as its first confirmed sighting of the species in the country since the 1800s. Wow. Well, that could be over 200 years, but since 100 years ago is now 1926. A fisher is well, okay, that would still only be like 120, 130 years. A fisher is a native mammal to the state and typically dwells within the northern parts of Ohio. In the video, you can see the animal scampering past the camera and at one point looks right at it. Yeah, pretty much most animals can recognize a trail camera. Um, Park officials describe the discovery as tremendously exciting as the fisher's return and emphasizes the impact and importance of long term conservation and habitat restoration efforts throughout forests, wetlands, and waterways. This happens to be a significant discovery, as Cleveland Metro Parks said that the Ohio Department of Natural Resources lists fishers as a species of special interest. What does that mean? That's funny. I think I've heard of it, but I have no idea what that stands for, pointing out that they disappeared from most of the state by the mid 19th century due to habitat loss and unregulated trapping. Well, I mean, it's good to see that they're coming back. Question is there a breeding population? And do they have access to different small fishing areas, as well as probably going after smaller species of birds and rodents in the region? So let's head to the next article. So from phys.org, glowing urine and shining bark. Scientists discover the secret visual language of deer. Oh, okay. I was wondering, I'm like, I haven't heard of this before. So here we have a red deer.
Well, that would be weird in the middle of the night.
Yeah, quite very dehydrated.
Would it look like a predator is bleeding on something?
A golden, I mean, if you're dehydrated, you could say it's, well, no, I guess to an extent it looks almost.
The predator.
Oh, did he ever? Is that what it looked like?
His blood would glow green.
Yeah, but this is gold. Um, yeah. During mating season, that's a big problem. During mating season, when male white-tailed deer want to get noticed by the opposite sex and warn off rivals, they rub their antlers against trees and scrape the forest floor. Yeah, that's when you see certain types of twigs in your different parts of the central, even certain areas of the western United States, but definitely the east. And there's these certain twigs hanging maybe 4 to 5 feet off the ground. You can have it where whitetail bucks, especially during the fall, will rub those specific pieces of branches, and they're called mock scrapes. But why do they do this a lot of the time? It's like they did it in Tommy Boy, where they're going through like a part of Iowa or something, and a red deer all of a sudden they run into a red deer. Now, maybe there are certain invasive populations of red deer. I think there are certain ones over in different parts of Texas, but whitetails make up the majority. Um,
Why do they do what?
they stick in a deer from a different country instead of using a native one. I guess because they it would be considered exotic to the region, the environmentalist groups aren't going to say anything about it. So it's just like, even though, um, well, maybe it's an animatronic. Looks authentic at one point. But there is more to these physical and scent markers than meets the eye or nose. According to a new study published in the journal Ecology and Evolution, they also glow so that other deer can see them when it's dark. That I didn't know. Hmm. Also, this isn't the mock scrape. This is something else that the deer are leaving behind. Researchers from the University of Georgia, United States, wanted to learn more about how deer communicate with one another. It has long been known that they leave these signposts behind to share their scent, but the team suspected there was a hidden visual element that humans cannot see. Unlike humans, deer can see in ultraviolet light. They don't have a filter that we have in our eyes that blocks out these rays. When they're active at dawn and dusk, this is a useful feature because there's generally more UV light during these hours. So, well, there's nothing to say at the moment. To follow up on their hunch, the Georgia researchers headed into the woods at night with special UV flashlights and sensors to see if and how these signposts react to light. They made one trip during early fall and another in the run up to the breeding season and examined 146 signposts, 109 rubs, and 37 scrapes. I'm guessing the scrapes referring to the mock scrapes. The rubs The rubs are probably taking place on the sides of tree trunks or just the tree itself, and it's where the buck is rubbing part of its face as well as its antlers. So on those specific areas of the face, you have quite a few areas of scent glands. So other bucks as well as does will catch a big whiff of those specific scents on the trees, and as well, you could even say predators. So let's see. The study authors found that all of these markers are photoluminescent and can be seen by other deer. When deer rub trees, they strip away the bark to reveal lignins and terpenes that glow when UV light from the sun hits them. These plant chemicals are not exposed in the surrounding bark and stand out by comparison. They also discover that urine-soaked scrapes glow brighter than the surrounding forest floor because deer urine contains chemicals such as um, porphyrins and amino acids that photoluminesce. Additionally, rubs made in October and November, part of the breeding season, just made before mating season, were significantly brighter than those made in early September. The findings suggest that deer have a secret visual language that humans cannot see. According to the team, the glows act as beacons and serve a biological purpose, helping other deer see them in low light conditions. Our study is the first quantification of environmental photoluminescence related to mammal ecology and the first that meets at least four of the five criteria for assigning biological function to photoluminescence. Um, I have to be honest. I don't know how this helps us figure out more about their behavior. Um, I okay, it
Somebody just
glows.
wanted to write a paper.
Yeah, it seems that way. I'm guessing this occurred over in Georgia. Doesn't say specifically, just said University of Georgia. Um, let's go to the next article. Jeez. I was actually kind of hyped because it was talking about something they had found with deer, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe something else going on during the rut. Nope. Like how the females or other males are responding to them. Even the carnivores, like, whoa, what is this? So from the cooldown.com, expert captures stunning footage after leaving camera in US cave for 10 years. That is beyond awesome. A decade of being a fly on the wall. Wait, what? Oh, okay. So it's just there and nobody cares about it. So that's the definition of the term. Okay. This looks like a cave that you might find different ice age or Pleistocene fossils. So maybe cave hyenas, lions, mammoths.
I don't think they're finding those right now, though.
Why? Oh
Okay,
well, no, no, I know. It's just
that was funny. You're like, wait, what?
okay. Let's see. A wildlife camera placed in an old bear cave near Yellowstone, where it recorded 10 years of animal visits. Reported Newsweek. Um, hmm. Well, guess it doesn't have to have too much. If it's, I guess, just sensor wise, there for 10 years though. Casey Anderson. Oh, this guy. He took care of, I think, a few brown bears in the past. So let's see. He was somewhere up in Montana. A 49-year-old filmmaker who documents wild animals around the western United States sets up the device more than a decade ago while traveling through remote terrain. He wanted to see if grizzlies would use the cave a second time. He also hosted that thing a few years back called was it Man versus Bear? And it's just a few random volunteers challenged that older Kodiak bear named Bart on a tug of war with a rope. So I think they were like 20 feet in the air and they would fall into just a large area of water. So anyway, it was entertaining. Let's see. It's fun watching them fail. The results exceeded what Anderson expected. Grizzlies did come back, and so did coyotes, mountain lions, and various other wildlife. One mountain lion returned to the spot many times. The camera kept working until a bear's interest in the device ended the recording, but not before capturing years of animal activity through different seasons. Of course, it has to be one of those grizzlies. I think it was. Maybe it was a black bear. They're quite observant too. Um, but it's interesting. It's almost like the cougar saw it, but just went, "Eh, uh, whatever." Anderson posted a short video to Instagram, which has been viewed over 512,000 times. I guess, let's see what happened. Yeah, it looks like something where you'd find, like, different cave hyena bones and maybe even their prey items. And, I mean, it could have happened during the Pleistocene. It's over in Yellowstone, just probably wouldn't have changed very much, though it doesn't seem like there are any fossils found in the area. Okay.
Okay, why has this been viewed so many times?
Uh, yeah. Come on, zoom in. No, 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 no. You're, please tell me. Okay, thank goodness. Okay, well, there seems to be a healthy cougar individual. What? Why? Okay, that this is. Hmm. Let's head to the next article. From petapixel.com. Grizzly bear filmed having a strange reaction to trail camera. We already went over this. Okay, let's see. I think we did we not see this? Maybe not. Hmm. The Dodo.com. Woman returns from shopping to find unexpected visitor in her wreath. Recently, a resident of New South Wales, Australia, returned home from holiday shopping and noticed something different about the Christmas wreath on her front door. There, hidden among the holly and pine cones, was a little ball of fuzz. I wonder what Australian marsupial this could be. On closer inspection, the festive surprise turned out to be a little ringtail possum, curled up fast asleep among the greenery. In need of expert advice, the resident posted a picture of the possum on a local community page. She soon connected with Inga, a wires rescuer, who quickly headed to the scene. There it is, somewhat. I mean, obviously, it's pretty comfortable. My question is, how did it get there? There must have been something close by for it to attach onto.
It climbed up the screen.
Oh, right. Inga wasn't so shocked to see the young possum. whom she named Holly. In such a predicament, Holly Jolly. It's not uncommon for juveniles to go exploring when they first start fending for themselves. As a nocturnal species, I suspect little Holly decided the greenery on the front door was a cozy spot rather than finding her way home. I see you, or you're a spy on me. One of those
That doesn't look like a
expressions.
possum.
It's a big zoomed up picture. Inga carefully contained the little possum, checked her for injuries, and found her to be in good health. Then she released her into the bushland behind the resident's home. She quickly scrambled up the paper bark tree, settled into the nearest fork, and promptly went back to sleep. I'm guessing that was a possum. Yeah, it looks relatively cheerful. Watching Ollie settle in, Inga felt a sense of pride. I was delighted to be able to release her so she could spend Christmas back where she belongs. Yep, it's it's a healthy possum. Okay, let's head to next article from plant-based news. Oh no, it sounds concerning, or it's just about plants. That's my guess.
I just
Wow.
pick these based on what sounds fun.
While wildlife cam captures Norfolk's first wild beaver in over 500 years. Beavers were hunted to extinction in the UK. The new animal's arrival remains a mystery. Well, I mean, there's still already beaver. Oh, thinking of beavers or um, yeah, I think not otters.
Why would they catch him if he hasn't been there in over 500 years?
Um, wait a second. Captures. Yeah, that's a good question. If he's the only
Oh,
one.
no, it says cam, a camera.
Oh, well, I was going to say if he was the only one in the area, but there were other beaver individuals somewhere else, then well, to increase genetic variety and to increase population, I'm not against that. Let's see. Norfolk has a wild beaver living on its rivers for the first time in more than 500 years. A wildlife camera spotted the animal moving logs around to build a lodge, which serves as an above ground burrow. Broken branches, wood chips, and bitten tree stumps were also found nearby, indicating the creature's movements and range. The county of Norfolk is located in the east of England, a part of the UK widely celebrated for its ecologically significant waterways, wetlands, and wildlife habitats. A wildlife trail camera captured footage of a solitary beaver on the River Wensum at Pensthorpe, a wildlife park near Fakenham, earlier this month. While there have been multiple beavers released into secure enclosures in the UK, including Norfolk, this is the first time a free living beaver has been spotted in the wild. So far, nobody knows where the beaver came from, but their arrival has been celebrated by wildlife enthusiasts nationwide, like that internationally, and particularly those at Pensthorpe. This discovery is an exciting moment for Pensthorpe. The fact that it has chosen our land to establish a territory reflects the ongoing work we have been doing to improve our river and the surrounding land for nature. Beavers are returning to river systems and wetland landscapes across parts of the UK, and it's encouraging to see individuals moving through Norfolk too. We're monitoring the situation carefully, but for now, this is fantastic news for nature recovery. I was thinking of literally people making dams because it referred to them as individuals. So, um, yeah, I don't know why. I just threw myself off. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, looks like a somewhat healthy
You
area.
know how many beavers are in the US or in North America?
Somewhere between 12 to 30 million. There's quite a few. Now, obviously, certain areas, especially in the western United States, less than others, but they, as long as they have access to different timber or forest land nearby, they can do quite well, even in dry situations, because they create a bit of a wetland. Let's see. Is there anything else? I think that's it. Well, it's good to see that the chap popped up in the area. Hopefully, other beavers will show up too, because that's as good as it sounds that it's the first time since what, the 15 or 1600s that beavers have been in this area, it's just one. We need to see many of them. So, from iflscience.com, rodents in the US are rapidly evolving under your nose. City life is shaping the rodents in real time, from skulls to snouts, right under our noses. Okay. Let's see. The eastern chipmunk. Let's see. Earlier this year, scientists at the Field Museum in Chicago went through their collection and measured the skull shapes of eastern chipmunks, Tamia striatus, and eastern meadow voles, Microtis pennsylvanicus. Chipmunks are a cute relative of squirrels. They are squirrels that snack on everything from nuts and berries to insects and even frogs, while meadow voles are closer akin to hamsters that eat a plant based diet and spend much of their time tunneling underground. Yes, chipmunks are very omnivorous, and they're usually feeding on nuts during the fall and then into the winter, not so much the spring and summer months, sometimes like even early fall.
Wait, did you say chipmunks are squirrels?
Yes. Yeah, they're basically a type of ground squirrel. Let's see. To an extent. By looking at the cranial morphology of these creatures and comparing how they've changed over the past 125 years, they were able to see how they were responding to urbanization. Let's see. From the skulls, we can tell a little bit about how animals are changing in a lot of different evolutionary relevant ways, how they're dealing with their environment, and how they're taking in information. So here are the skulls of them. Hmm. These chipmunk skulls were collected near Chicago in 1906. The team also examined where the animals had been collected and used satellite imagery to track Chicago's urban growth over the past 80 years. Together, the data revealed that both species have undergone significant changes in response to city life. Over the last century, chipmunks in Chicago have been getting bigger, but their teeth are getting smaller. Whoa, that's freaky. We believe this is probably associated with the kind of food they're eating. They're probably eating more human related food, which makes them bigger, but not necessarily healthier. Well, also, maybe just not as, um, their skull structure isn't as well defined. Meanwhile, their teeth are smaller. We think it's because they're eating less hard food like the nuts and seeds they would normally eat. Meanwhile, voles are changing in
Wouldn't it
another way.
take a while though for that genetic change to happen?
Not necessarily. I mean, when you see what's happened to certain wolf populations over in, let's say, different parts of, I think it was Finland, and in an area where I think the wolves didn't have access to moose or just larger prey items for quite some time. Within a handful of decades, their morphology, at least in their skull, showed that they became much more robust and not as, I guess the term's not necessarily delicate, but not as, um, let's say at this point, they're now able to crush bone a lot more efficiently than they were beforehand. So this seems to be quite the opposite. Meanwhile, voles are changing in another way. The team noticed how the population has developed small auditory bulli, hollow bone structures associated with hearing. Uh oh. This, they believe, may be a reaction to the constant noise of densely populated humans, traffic, and other hallmarks of the big city. Wait a second. Are these chipmunks in Chicago? They don't count. I mean, okay, it's interesting that it's occurring. It's unfortunate, but there comes to a point where it's not too concerning. Chipmunks over in New Hampshire, I'm like, yeah, whatever, losers. Uh, we will keep the lineage. You will die. Anyway, um, you could even be having chipmunks over in Wisconsin, rural Illinois. I mean, okay, well, they might have a bit of a problem too, but uh, anyway, this isn't too concerning. Let's see. This they believe may be a reaction. Oh, I already said that. Okay. We think this may relate to the city being loud. Having these bones to be smaller might help dampen excess environmental noise. Uh, Coyotes or urban coyotes in Chicago are like, works for me. Anyway, this is evolution by natural selection in real time. Animals that happen to have traits better suited to urban environments, such as skull shapes adapted to softer diets or ear bones that help cope with loud environments, are more likely to survive and reproduce in cities. Over generations, those advantageous traits become more common in the population. The problem is with this type of an adaptation that we're seeing with these urban chipmunks. Also, what did you say about the voles? Um, oh, okay. So the voles are. I would think this is occurring with the chipmunks as well. I think I confused the voles with chipmunks and which mutation, but I would think what's happening too. The chipmunks also happen to the voles, as well as the voles to the chipmunks. So, but the thing is that this seems like more of a specialist sort of an adaptation. The problem with specialist adaptations is that they're not good for any sort of change in the ecosystem. So, the moment, let's say, like this urban place no longer exists, the chipmunks are pretty much doomed because they do not have the overall really good sense of hearing that their wild relatives in the rural areas have, which the wild ones in even an urban area, let's say they know how to efficiently find food. They have a better chance of escaping predators, getting smushed by a car or um, bike or whatever, compared to those urban chipmunks. So, despite this being a somewhat specialist trait, um, it it just seems kind of like a kind of a failed evolutionary path. So, this yeah, these things are um it's nothing to be concerned about in the end because there's many other chipmunks and meadow voles out there that have great genetics and well-equipped sense of hearing, very strong jaw muscles. So, teeth too. But it isn't just chipmunks and voles that are riding the waves of change. Another recent study showed how raccoons in the US have evolved much shorter snouts than their rural counterparts, evidence that the species has self domesticated in response to human presence. I gotta be honest, rural raccoons sometimes seem the same way. They can be, okay, I wouldn't say too domesticated, but they know how to get food from people. But the shorter snouts is interesting. But like I said, it is quite interesting how their wild counterparts just take away the um, hunting styles they would have to have in order to obtain food in the urban or suburban areas. They're pretty well adapted, or they have the ability to adapt quite well. It's probably because they're having to consistently go through different periods of changes. And this is also something that you tend to see with animals in different parts of North America, Europe, even certain areas of Asia, whereas animals further south would have a lot more problems in a changing ecosystem. So let's see. A very similar phenomenon has been documented in red foxes. That is interesting. I guess they're going after small prey items, but in other instances, red foxes can be quite scavenging in these situations. Let's see. Okay, well, um, so Chicago has animals with bad genetics. So let's go to the next article from Indian Defense Review. First ever dinosaur era dragonfly fossil found in Canada. Okay. So, a McGill University student has made an extraordinary discovery: a 75 million-year-old dragonfly fossil from the late Cretaceous period. Oh, wow. I mean, this is quite remarkable. I mean, I understand that it's just a dragonfly. Remarkable discovery in Alberta, Canada, shed light on ancient ecosystems from the time of the dinosaurs. A student from McGill University uncovered a 75 million-year-old dragonfly fossil. Okay, let's keep going. Um, let's see. So it's found in Dinosaur Provincial Park. Many different species of dinosaurs are found in this region. Different species of late Cretaceous Tyrannosaur. This is also before T Rex and Triceratops. So you're looking at different species of hadrosaurs or duck-billed dinosaurs in the region. like Parasaurolophus, Corythosaurus, and Montosaurus, as well as different species of ceratopsian. So animals related to Triceratops, such as Centrosaurus, Pachyrhinosaurus. Let's take a deeper look. So apparently, insects are not common to find here. So we were taken by surprise as we were not expecting to find any insects there. The fossil was a fragment of a hind wing, approximately the size of a human hand. Whoa, that is shocking considering large dragonflies tend to only be referred to the Carboniferous period. So that was over 305 million years ago, which had been preserved in the rock. This is the late Cretaceous, so around 75 million years ago, late Campanian stage. Let's see. The discovery made in the late Cretaceous layers of the park turned out to be the fossil of a previously unknown dragonfly species named Cordwalladensa acorni, named after an acorn. The species is the first Mesozoic dragonfly discovered in Canada, and it fills a significant gap in the fossil record, helping scientists understand how ancient insects fit into their ecosystems during the dinosaur era. Let's see. Um, Cordwalladensa acorni is more than just a rare find. It's a critical piece of the puzzle in understanding insect evolution. The fossil is placed within the extinct dragonfly group Cavi Cavilabiata, characterized by specific egg-laying structures. This discovery is particularly important because it fills a 30 million year gap in the dragonfly fossil record. I did not know that. That's quite interesting, providing a rare snapshot of how dragonfly species evolved over time. Its discovery provides new sights into the development of dragonfly wing shapes and their role in the broader ecosystem. Scientists studying the fossil have reconstructed the delicate networks of veins in the preserved wing, which offers valuable clues about the flight capabilities of this ancient insect. The wing structure reveals features that indicate Cordyceps acorni was an efficient glider, much like modern migratory dragonflies. It was a glider. That's interesting. Gliding acorn.
Wait, how would a dragonfly glide?
Yeah, I haven't heard of those. I tend to fly. I'm not sure. This discovery is significant not only because it's the first dragonfly fossil from Canada's Dinosaur Park formation, but also because it highlights how dragonflies contributed to ancient ecosystems. As top predators in insect food webs, their presence suggests the availability of smaller insects for their diet, which would have supported other predators in the ecosystem, such as small predatory dinosaurs. The Cordwadensa acorni fossil offers insights into the Cretaceous riverside ecosystem, a time when dinosaurs roamed what is now southern Alberta. During the late Campanian stage of the Cretaceous, the Dinosaur Park Formation, known for preserving a rich array of dinosaur fossils, also captured the flora and fauna of ancient wetlands. The newly discovered dragonfly fossil, suggests that the ecosystem was teeming with life, where dragonflies would have patrolled over calm ponds and river channels, hunting for smaller insects. In the reconstructed ecosystem, Cordyceps acorni would have been part of a complex web of life. It would have skated across water surfaces where duck-billed hadrosaurs and horned ceratopsians came to drink, hunt, or cool off.
So it's saying they fly.
Um, yeah, that's. I would have guessed that it would. I mean, also, even dragonflies back in the Carboniferous are shown to have flown. So I haven't heard of a dragonfly gliding. In fact, I don't know of a single insect that glides. So this is a really big question. This new understanding of the late Cretaceous ecosystem gives scientists a more complete view of life in this period, revealing the interconnections between insects and dinosaurs that were previously difficult to study. So that's it with that. Okay, so into our final article.
I have one more after this.
Okay, couple more. So from Earth.com, geologists find fossils of unexpected creatures in Grand Canyon rocks. For more than a century, the Cambrian rocks of the Grand Canyon were considered old news. So, well, I mean, it's not wrong. I mean, that's over 510 million years ago. Having been carefully mapped, named, and neatly slotted into geology textbooks. No, I know what it's referring to. It's confusing in those books. But a closer look at those same rocks have uncovered tiny fossil animals that appear to combine two very different feeding strategies within a single body. In addition, at the time these creatures lived more than 500 million years ago, the Grand Canyon region lay beneath shallow seas. This recent study was led by Dr. James D. Schiffbauer, a paleontologist at the University of Missouri, whose research follows how soft bodied organisms and delicate structures are preserved deep in time, what they reveal about early ecosystems. His team's fresh analysis of these fossils, combined with his new studies of Grand Canyon sediments, is reshaping ideas about how complex food webs formed on the seafloor during the Cambrian period when animal life expanded across the planet. When people stand at the South Rim and look across the Grand Canyon, most never realize that a thin greenish band within those cliffs hold clues to some of the earliest complex communities on Earth. I think that's because you can't see it. That band is the Bright Angel Formation. Oh, okay. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. A 270 to 450-foot thick mix of shale, siltstone, and sandstone that crops out for roughly 300 miles of canyon walls. Wow, I didn't know that. Jeesh. And records an ancient sea crawling inland over North America. This rock layer sits between the coarser Tapete sandstone and the harder Muave carbonates. It's formed as part of the Sauk megasequence, which is a broad spread marine sediments that lies on the Great Unconformity, where a vast span of older rock is absent. A missing span is still debated, but Zarkon dating shows the Bright Angel Formation sediments were laid down between 502 and 507 million years ago. Okay, so slightly. Well, it said that the Cambrian at first. That could be as old as 530 million years ago. Soon after, the Tapete sands began to accumulate in early Cambrian seas. Fossils from the Bright Angel Formation have usually been described as hard parts, trilobite shells, brachiopods. So these are all different. Well, the trilobites are technically one of the larger groups of arthropods. Brachiopods are another lineage of mammals. Not mammals, animals. Yeah, mammals wouldn't evolve until around 130, no, 230 or 235 million years ago, and scattered spines or plates from other invertebrates.
Wait, so mammals came in then, but proto mammals were around during the time of mammals too?
Technically, in the early stage of the mammals, yes. Proto mammals would eventually go extinct at the end of the Triassic, around 201 million years ago. When they first evolved, somewhere around 300 million years ago, at the very beginning of the Permian, at the very end of the Carboniferous period, 300, 305 million years ago. So these remains already help date the rocks and tie them to other Cambrian sections worldwide, but they only show part of the story because soft bodied animals almost never fossilize under normal conditions. The researchers used high resolution imaging and geochemical tools on new Cambrian samples from the western US. They uncovered rare three-dimensional soft tissue fossils that blend traits of seafloor animals with those that burrowed below it. These unusual forms, which combine surface grazing within sediment feeding in one body, differ sharply from trilobites and brachiopods, yet their age and setting match the trace rich layers of the Bright Angel Formation. Um, let's see. That comparison suggests that similarly complex soft bodied creatures may also have been present but invisibly recorded there. Their bodies lost while their activity is still written to the sediment. What are we looking at here? Tiny fossils found in the Bright Angel Formation of the Grand Canyon. Crate spectacus. Maybe some species of brachiopod. Doesn't look like a trilobite. Hmm. Don't exactly know what we're looking at here. I think it's referring to one of them. So the rock itself supports the ecological complexity because it records a dynamic, shallow marine setting, not a silent, deep basin. Sedimentologists have documented hummocky cross stratisfaction, ripple marked sandstone lenses, and repeated coarsening upward that point to storm dominated shelves. These layers reveal areas where powerful, short lived flows moved sand and shells hash across the seafloor between quieter periods of mud settling. Many bright angel formation sequences start with an erosive base cut into older beds, pass upward into cross-bedded sand. The layer then grades into interbedded sandstone and shale, which hosts dense assemblages of horizontal trace fossils and small vertical burrows. So this pattern fits a model where storms periodically disturb the substrate and redistributed food, then calmer conditions allowed animals to recolonize, burrow, and feed until the next event reset the surface. In this kind of environment, an animal that could switch between surface grazing and in sediment feeding within the same body plan would have had a real advantage taking food from more than one microhabitat as conditions change. The bright angel formation is not just about animals. Its fine grained layers also trap microscopic evidence of changes happening on land and in shallow water. Analyses of the clay mineralogy show abundant light, plus kaolinite lower in the section and more chlorite higher up, along with detrital, muscovite, K feldspar, and glauconite grains. These point back to nearby weathering of granite and metamorphic basement rocks. There's a lot going on here, at least physically within the land. Um, okay, here's this is interesting, but
It's what?
it's it's not talking about larger organisms. So, I mean, I think I don't know. Should I?
Pull the last?
Huh?
You want me to pull the last one?
Yeah. It's just going on with these smaller, still essential parts of the ecosystem, but um, it's just too much.
Okay, I think this is it.
It's more of like different arthropods, like different species of trilobites, the Anemocarlus like arthropods, other predators of the time, maybe the Hallucigene, which is one of the arthropods with a large variety, lo- uh, um, yeah, large variety of appendages. Some of the first fish, like Picea. But what's going on here? It's something about the plankton cysts. Huh. Seen other Cambrian seas, but not present. Or they weren't present at this point. Let's see what else. The Eurypterids or the sea scorpions, they haven't evolved yet. Different larger species of fish. I'm referring to species of fish about the size of your pinky nail. And a wide variety of trilobites have existed at this point, and they're probably just scavenging for the most part. I think there are some instances where they might have preyed on smaller organisms, but you also had trilobites of certain species barely the size of your thumbnail. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So from SciTechDaily.com, 5,000-year-old wolves found on remote island challenge conventional views of domestication. Oh, right. Okay, so um,
What?
this cave right here.
How do we get rid of that?
It's just up towards. Okay, so view from the cave Stora Forvar on the island of Stora Karlsö in Sweden. Hmm.
Are we looking at a bunch of wolves in there?
I don't. At least I don't see any at the moment. Just see rocks. Sweden does have the most islands compared to any other country on Earth. I think there's over 2,000 islands in Sweden alone, at least. Many of those islands, you have different herds of moose that annually go there to feed. However, they have to watch out for orcas or killer whales in the region because moose in that region are an annual part of the orcas' um, feeding food consumption. Ancient wolves found on a human occupied Baltic island reveal unexpected and complex forms of prehistoric human animal interaction. Researchers have uncovered wolf remains dating back thousands of years on a small and remote island in the Baltic Sea. Because the island is naturally isolated, the animals could only have arrived there with human involvement. The study, published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences by scientists from the Francis Crick Institute, Stockholm University, the University of Aberdeen, and the University of East Anglia, suggests that gray wolves may have been deliberately managed or controlled by prehistoric communities. The remains, estimated to be between 3,000 and 5,000 years old, were discovered in the Stora Forvar cave on the Swedish island of Stora Karlslo. So this is taking place somewhere between the late Neolithic era and the Bronze Age.
Wait, don't wolves swim?
Oh yeah, especially like those sea wolves over in Alaska. But all wolf populations are capable of swimming. Um, Ones in Mongolia.
But wait, didn't you do an article though a while back about wolves that were swimming? Because I couldn't figure out how the wolves got to where they were.
We might have. I think it took place in some part of Canada or Alaska. I mean, it's possible part of Europe, but that's usually where you tend to see the most wolf crossings out at sea. Are different populations of wolves in southeastern Alaska. In fact, like most of their feeding behavior in the region focuses on salmon a lot of the time, as well as scavenging um, dead stellar sea lions in the region. So these sea lions can reach over 800 kilograms or pushing over 1,600 pounds. But they will also prey on the pups as well. Uh, they will go after moose. Moose in the region, they tend to be a somewhat intermediate sort of prey source, but they will go after them also in different parts of British Columbia along the what's that called? The Great Bear Rainforest. So it's an extremely large protected area covering over 21,000 square miles or possibly what 40,000 kilometers and square kilometers, and then as well as the Tongass National Forest, which takes place in southeastern Alaska. Pretty much the same ecosystem. But Tongass National Forest, you're bound to find more, I guess, heavily dense populations of brown bears, but they're in the Great Bear Rainforest too. So let's see, different type of ecosystem over here in Sweden. Let's see. This site was heavily used by seal hunters and fishers during the Neolithic and Bronze Ages. The island spans just 2.5 square kilometers and has no native land mammals, indicating that any large terrestrial animals found there must have been brought by people. Oh, that's okay. Well, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know how far from any other island or a large proximity of islands, the mainland, this specific island is. So it's still possible for something like a moose, a bear, or a wolf, I would think, to make it to this island. Let's see. What do we have here? Is this a wolf bone? Details of Detail of one of the upper arm bones from one of the wolves included in the study. Okay. So this is a wolf bone. Was it a femur or something? So, detailed genomic analysis of two canid specimens confirmed that there were wolves rather than dogs with no trace of dog ancestry. Despite this, the animals showed characteristics commonly linked to close proximity with humans. Isotope analysis of the bones revealed a diet rich in marine foods, including seals and fish, closely matching what people on the island consumed and suggested that the wolves were fed by humans. Is this taking, well, I mean, there's still seal populations in the southern part of or at least in the Baltic Sea. So, as well as like adjacent to the North Sea, so like north of Denmark area, Poland. The animals were also smaller than most mainland wolves, and one individual displayed notably low genetic diversity, which is often seen in isolated populations or in cases of controlled breeding. There's something they're not mentioning here. There could have been a certain ice age that occurred at this point. Might have been quite minimal in terms of time, but the wolves were able to get across. This is also how wolves from the mainland over in Minnesota made it across part of Lake Superior to make it to the small island of Isle Royale, also known as Isle Royale National Park. It's the only national park within Minnesota. Yet it has the densest population of moose compared to, I think, anywhere on Earth. There's around 15 to 1,800 moose last time I checked on the island. But this island is, I think, somewhere around 6 to 700 square miles. It's not very big. And there were a couple packs of wolves there, but then the population just gradually became smaller. And then they started reintroducing a few wolves handful of years back. But how they were able to get across is because there was literally a land bridge. I mean, it was just ice. That's how they got across. That's my guess as to how these animals were brought here, if or arrived here, if not brought by people. Okay, so let's see. The discovery of these wolves on a remote island is completely unexpected. Not only did they have ancestry indistinguishable from other Eurasian wolves, but they seemed to be living alongside humans, eating their food and in a place they could only have reached by boat. This paints a complex picture of the relationship between humans and wolves in the past. Findings challenge traditional views of how humans interacted and how dog domestication unfolded. Although it is still unclear whether the animals were tamed, kept in captivity, or managed in another way, their long term presence on a human inhabited and isolated island points to intentional and ongoing interaction between people and wolves. So I don't see any fossils here. The entrance to the Stora Forvar cave on the island, Stora Karl. So the cave was explored between 1888 and 1893. The limestone rich bedrock has contributed to the skeletal material found there being very well preserved. It was a complete surprise to see that that it was a wolf and not a dog. This is a provocative case that raises the possibility that in certain environments, humans were able to keep wolves in their settlements and found value in doing so. The genetic data is fascinating. We found that the wolf with the most complete genome had low genetic diversity, lower than any other ancient wolf we've seen. Wow, really? Well, that's really unfortunate. But I like how it said any other ancient wolf because there are many population of wolves today because of overhunting in certain areas. Despite their populations increasing, they still have low genetic variety. So it just refers to ancient. That's funny. This is similar to what you see in isolated or bottlenecked populations or in domesticated organisms. While we can't rule that these wolves had low genetic diversity for natural reasons, it suggests that humans were interacting with and managing wolves in ways we hadn't previously considered. One of the wolf specimens dated to the Bronze Age, about 3 to 4,000 years ago, also showed advanced pathology in a limb bone, which would have limited its mobility. So the way it simply moved, especially twisted and turned, this suggests it may have been cared for or was able to survive in an environment where it did not need to hunt large prey. Maybe they really are scavenging on seals at this point. Wonder what was the other prey item that I mentioned? Maybe going after fish, certain cephalopods in the region. So let's see. There's the beach coast. View towards the Stora Forvar cave on the island of Stora Karlso. Interesting. Really wonder. The combination of osteology and genetic analyses has provided unique information not available separately. The combination of data has revealed new and very unexpected perspectives on Stone Age and Bronze Age human animal interactions in general, and specifically concerning wolves and also dogs. The study suggests that human wolf interactions in prehistory were more diverse than previously thought, extending beyond simple hunting or avoidance to include complex relations and interactions that, in this case, mirror new aspects of domestication without leading to the canines we know as dogs today. Hmm. Would be really interesting to see what they were feeding on. Oh well, I mean, that was interesting to see. Too bad for the low genetic variety. That was definitely interesting with that cave that we saw over in Wyoming where the cougars, apparently a brown bear, and what was it? Some wolves or was it another creature that came by? Well, anyway, they were visiting the cave in Yellowstone. I'm glad that that ringtail possum over in Australia was able to be rescued, and because we don't know if it was too scared to come down, but seems to be it was in good health. Um, Anyways, rescued and then released back into the wild. What was the other thing? The anaconda um, discovery was interesting. So back in the Miocene, despite being more tropical, warmer climate, they weren't really any larger. In fact, sounds like they're slightly larger today. Let's see. So what was the other thing? The glowing urine. That was funny. What was that other one? Let's see. The frogs. Oh yeah, the frogs able to ingest or swallow the wasps while the wasps are stinging their tongue, and it's almost like their tongues just numb. Yeah, don't hand a frog a tongue. Um, let's see. What was the other thing? Um, the seal. I'm glad that seal pup was rescued. That was a bit confusing as to what happened, though. I think they just released it. Apparently, they had a lot of seal pups get rescued in that region. That was a funny thing. A beaver showed up, but just one. Anyway, and those chipmunks with the bad genetics. So, I hope you enjoy this live stream. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share this show with everyone you know because nothing is better than all animals all the time.